think we're good? We're good? Are we
We're
breathing?
doing it.
We're doing
I
the
think
thing.
we're breathing. Yay. What is up, everybody? How you doing? Welcome on in. Welcome back to the Chaotic Codpast, the first episode of 2023.
Hi, bitch.
Thrown off is what I am. I am joined by Belladonna 2, Big 893, and joining us for the first time on the Chaotic Codpast, Adroxide and Tony, friends. How are we doing today? How is y'all's week?
I'm Tony.
No, I'm Tony.
Wait, you're Tony?
I'm Spartacus? Question mark?
We're Tony.
Who
Oh,
is where,
I'm Tony. We're all Tony today.
How are you guys doing? How was y'all's week?
Pretty good.
So,
Pretty good.
I completely started talking. I jumped ahead of myself. I'm sorry.
What else is new?
Yeah, that thing. But I shouldn't do it in this establishment. Wow, that is not the word I meant to go with. I should.
Bushman.
Establishment?
Oh, fancy now?
Oh, with the fence. But yeah. So, being Tony is a lifestyle. Can't get wrong. And only the best ones can pull it off. So hey, good on you.
Hi, Candor.
So, before we get started, I want to do something.
Uh-oh.
As a lot of people know, I like to try things that I haven't tried before on stream. And we're just going to make it a part of the Codpast because why not? So, my favorite chip is Dorito. Well, I was at Kroger today, and they had sweet and tangy barbecue. I haven't tried them yet. I was holding it off for today.
Go for it.
Ooh, wow.
I've been trying to find
Oh,
this
wow.
pitch black.
That's not supposed to come out until Monday.
I've seen videos of it in the wild.
I
and
have
I'm
too,
like,
but
want
I don't know how valid they are. Let's see if they're different now. Okay.
I did find an exotic buy earlier too. I found a drink of lychee, which I didn't know they made a drink of it.
That is really barbecuey, but I like it.
Barbecue.
Ooh.
You had a drink of what?
Lychee. I
It's
found
good.
it. I didn't know they made it in drink form. I've only had the actual thing.
I don't know what that is, but
It's pretty good.
Kitty.
Kitty cat.
It's the cat!
This is Susu. She's being a butt.
it's being a cat,
Oh.
so checks out.
Kitty.
Okay,
Mhm.
so
Kitty cat.
we're doing something a little different with this tonight. I have found that in the past, the best
Mhm.
Codpast, podcast, whatever, are just freeform, where you just kind of let the conversation go where it wants. But, so the topic today is the Marvel Cinematic Universe phases 1 and 2. And that means, that covers all the, the movies it covers are Iron Man 1, The Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America, the first Avengers movie, Iron Man, and that's phase 1. And then there's Iron Man 3, Thor: The Dark World, Captain America: The Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers: Age of Ultron, and Ant-Man. Plus, thrown in there is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the TV show, and I believe Agent Carter was in phase 2. I only watched 2 episodes. I just didn't go back to it. So, yeah. What's y'all's first experience with the MCU? Like, what was the first movie you saw? What was the first thing you saw? Your first
Mom.
recollection of, oh, this is the thing.
First one I saw was Iron Man. I luckily saw it. I did see it in theaters because I thought it was cool. I've kind of been hooked on the MCU since Iron Man. Like Iron Man came out and they've had me in their hands since, and I haven't left.
Can relate to that.
I mean, look at Robert Downey Jr. Come on, you can't blame me.
Oh yeah. Like when the creator of half of Marvel comes forward and says, "No, you were born to play Iron Man. Like Iron Man is you." You know what I mean? Like you did a good job. Which I find it interesting because when Iron Man was first coming out, Robert Downey Jr. was still kind of in the recovery phase of getting over, like drug abuse and
Yeah.
just coming out of rehab. And I believe not a lot of people, like studios, wanted to hire him because of that.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people, like at that time, saw it as like a big risk
Yeah.
Marvel was taking, and everyone was taking. But they're like, "No, this is our Iron Man." And I mean,
And John Favreau said, "No,
Dehydrate.
looks at billions of dollars later. I think it worked.
Yeah, that-
Imposter check.
Gotta remember this was the same time that he was like, "I'll do Tropic Thunder too."
no,
Yeah.
really.
Oh, that didn't age well.
When did that?
No, it did not. Oh boy.
2008.
Similar to
Oh God,
Tony?
those came out in the same year. Oh boy.
Similar to Tony, my first experience was also Iron Man in theater. It was my first date with my ex-fiance, so I didn't really watch the movie.
Yeah.
Because, 16-year-olds.
Cracks. Oh man.
Dakota.
Yeah, that was also mine as well. This is kind of be the trend here with
I
Iron
mean, it
Man.
makes sense, because we've been, we grew up watching like the X-Men movies, the Spider-Man movies. Some of us had the unfortunate mispleasure of watching Elektra and Hulk. So
Yeah.
we had all these movies coming out.
You didn't
Elektra and
enjoy
Daredevil
2003 Hulk? Come on.
bad. They weren't
Uh,
good, but they weren't bad.
And
And hey, some of us grew up with the Hulk TV show because,
oh, I'm not talking about Lou
Yeah.
Ferrigno. I'm talking about Eric Bana,
Talking about 2003 Hulk.
the Ang Lee movie. Yeah, no.
Yeah. No, but that was my first rodeo with the MCU there. It was actually on a school trip, believe it or not.
Really?
We got to pick between Iron Man and some other movie that I don't remember.
It's irrelevant because it's Iron Man.
Exactly. But I remember watching it. And I was like, "Oh, this is good."
you're not gonna steal. You're not gonna steal.
How
that.
many of y'all at the very end, realized there was a post-credit scene that hinted to bigger things?
I had no idea. Like it was
Yeah.
years later.
Like when that scene, like when people started talking about that, like everyone went nuts because it was Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury. I'm here to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative. Starting the course for what will become one of the biggest gambles in cinema history that pays off in such a drastic manner that it inspires countless other studios to attempt their own cinematic universe with less than favorable results, but we'll talk about that in a little bit.
It has definitely changed cinema as we know it.
Yeah, definitely. Now every movie everyone sits around till the
Yeah,
Um,
ever since that, like every single movie you watch, if it's got anything comic book, hell, even the MonsterVerse movies and like the Fast and Furious movies, every like big franchise, everyone just sits at. I say everyone. You'd be amazed at the people that will get up during Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
those are the
Yeah.
people that don't really feel like sitting down for the last 5 minutes
I didn't believe it yet, not until the end of the Hulk. Well, the
when
Incredible
they
Hulk, but
probably
yes.
look it up online.
Which we'll talk
Yeah.
about that in just a little bit.
I've always thought it was just in the modern age we're in, it's just either people that don't care or they already saw it on TikTok or something because that's what you see a lot
Or
of.
they're
nowadays.
just
Yeah.
the casual movie goer, and that's fine. That's fine. Not knocking people who just go for the movie and then that's it. They don't really care about the end stuff. They'll see that when it hits Disney Plus or whatever streaming site it hits. But
That and nowadays some of the end credit scenes are so vague, like
yeah,
Yeah.
unless you have an extensive knowledge of the universe or read all of the stuff in the background that the studios were doing, you're not gonna understand the references. Like, had you not said the thing that you did at the end of Eternals, I wouldn't know who the fuck that voice was.
yeah. I was about to
Like,
bring that
I
up
don't
as
know
an
who that
example.
was. Some random dude in the shadows. It wasn't even a dude in the shadows. It was a voice.
And then there's Harry Styles as Thanos' brother. So that's always fun. But yeah, obviously my first experience, because I realized I didn't answer the question myself.
Didn't answer the question.
Obviously Iron Man.
Obviously.
Here's something funny. I was heavily involved in the youth group at the time the Iron Man came out, and my youth pastor's son really wanted to go see it.
Mhm.
And I remember very vividly. We did a car wash as a fundraiser for the youth group, and I was talking about how I wanted to go see Iron Man because it had just come out. And I was talking to the youth pastor about it, and her son was standing there, and I want to go see Iron Man. And I looked at the youth pastor and I was like, would you be willing to let me take him? You know what? I trust you. Yeah. He gave me $20 to pay for the movie tickets, and we went and saw the movie.
$20
And
tickets.
$20. Ooh.
Let's say when $20 you pay for movie tickets.
Back in 2008, it did.
Yeah.
Well,
So, saw the movie, loved it, took him home, and he was just bouncing off the walls, excited about the movie. Which, fun fact, Iron Man's never been my favorite. Just in general. The Iron Man movies were never, like, any of my favorite in anything. But, for what the movie set up, you know, you can't help but respect it.
yeah.
Because this started something
Started.
that's just, like, changes. Yeah, that thing.
Change it.
It changed everything. And
I
it's
think
It put how many movies and TV shows into line, right? So it's like
Oh, yeah.
like in its own way, Iron Man could be like argued as like one of the most important movies like to a franchise or anything ever.
Mhm.
not just to a
it's like
franchise,
without
but
Iron Man
in
1,
general.
maybe ever. Yeah, exactly. Because like how many other movies led to how many movies have there been in the MCU now alone, regardless
We're
of the TV
currently
show?
sitting at like 30.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we're
if that movie sucked,
Yeah.
it bombed. You know, like that
Like
is
if
what
they
happened.
had gotten a different person to play Tony Stark instead of someone who is essentially Tony Stark.
If they'd have gotten
Yeah.
the original actor, it would have been terrible.
Who was the original actor again?
Tom Cruise.
Oh no.
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 Tom Cruise was
No.
originally in line to play Tony Stark, but he
Oh.
turned it down. And Jon Favreau
Well.
just on a whim decided, let's go with this guy, and it just
It's crazy. What a different world we'd be living in if it was
But-
Tom Cruise.
And then after Iron Man, we had the Incredible Hulk,
Yep.
which was the first feeling of a connected universe because in the mid-credit scene it featured Tony Stark. It brought back Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark in the Hulk movie. So a lot of people forget that the 2008 Incredible Hulk is in the MCU, the one with Edward Norton.
Technically.
I think they forget that because it has Edward Norton in it instead of
Yeah.
Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot why they recast Edward Norton, but I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was a damn good movie.
He just
Isn't
wanted
it
to leave, didn't
scheduling
he?
conflicts
Yeah,
or
I don't think he
something?
wanted to do it.
Oh.
But had a conflict.
Yeah. That's everything I remember seeing is he didn't want to do it, but could be wrong.
Imagine being Edward Norton, like looking back, like if only I'd stayed.
Norton
Oh,
just
man.
did not fit the find of the kind of Marvel Studios ultimately intended to make.
Those were words.
Yeah, that thing. I
You
Word.
want to try that again?
I didn't have
Try
a
that
stroke
again
just
without a
now. We're
dry
good.
read.
It is commonly known among audiences that the reason for this personal event is that Norton just did not fit the kind of movie Marvel Studios ultimately intended to make. Which honestly, when you look at all the movies that Mark Ruffalo has been in as Hulk since then, honestly, yeah.
I mean, yeah, because you can't have a solo Hulk movie either due to the rights. So.
That aside, I feel like Mark Ruffalo brings that awkwardness to it that Edward Norton just didn't quite nail. And then
That bit of quiet, humble
Mhm.
that you get from just years of
Yeah.
working through shit.
Yeah. Well, what Battle just said, that makes a lot more sense because if you're the Hulk and they're like, "Hey, you can be in other movies, but you don't get your own movie again," like that's the. Yeah.
And he wasn't the first recast.
Think of who else.
The first big one was they replaced Terrence Howard as Rhodey with
That's
Don
Yeah,
Cheadle.
right.
yep.
Oh
That's
yeah,
one of
that
the.
one.
That took me so
Whoa,
long
I
to
forgot about
realize that
that.
was the same character. By the way,
Yeah,
like,
I
because
forgot
I was
about
like,
that.
that's not the same actor, and like, yeah, I I wasn't like as when those movies were coming out, I wasn't like as like aware of they just replace people in movies. Like
Yeah.
and it's like, oh wait, you're telling me this is the same guy? That's not him. That's a completely different person.
I don't think I even realized it until years later when I went back and rewatched Iron Man.
Hmm.
And then by that time I had seen something else that had Rhodey as a character in it. I was like, wait, that's the same person?
yeah. Honestly, I think it was for the better. Same thing with Mark Ruffalo because
Don Cheadle does a fantastic job.
he's
Yeah.
He
amazing,
does great.
and I'm not sure how well Terrence Howard would have been able to. Like, I'm not knocking him as an actor. Don't get me wrong. Don Cheadle just kind of fits a little bit more.
Yeah. Now that we know what we have, so it's like, yeah, all right, we made the right
Yeah.
choices.
What are you doing, you little goofball?
Like, even between Iron Man and Iron Man 2, it's just like the character of Rhodey is like better. Because in Iron Man 1, Rhodey was kind of just bland a little bit.
Mm.
Yeah, he didn't have a lot of.
He was too stiff, definitely. He was definitely too stiff.
He was
Well,
just Tony
Yeah.
Stark's friend. Like he wasn't like I don't. To me, like he wasn't his own like
Yeah.
character. Really, there wasn't anything defined about him other than like, oh, I'm your friend. He's his friend.
And then Don Cheadle comes in and he can actually like match Robert Downey.
well, that's also something that might account for the stiffness of the character is he's military, so I could understand him being a little more a little more like
Don't mind me, Alex.
I guess uptight
Mm.
character wise, especially in the early years of Marvel.
Yeah.
No, ma'am, you cannot go outside. Come here.
But yeah, and then we got Iron Man 2, which Don Cheadle replaced. A lot of people hated it.
I remember watching in theaters and liking it, and it wasn't 2 years later that people were like, "It was really bad," and I was like, "Oh."
It was it? Because did
If
we
we
watch
watched
the
the same movie,
Yeah, it's like oh,
same movie?
okay.
Did we watch the same movie? I'm confused. Because I've never had an issue with Iron Man 2. In fact, I prefer it over Iron Man 1.
Tony Stark was never really my favorite
Same.
character. So,
mine comes
especially
next.
early Tony Stark, when he's all bravado,
Yeah.
is a lot to handle.
And Iron Man 2 introduced one of our favorite characters.
Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Many
Whiplash
people
was a
forget
wasted
that's
villain.
when
No, Whiplash was a combination of two villains.
two villains. Yeah.
It was
Was he?
Whiplash and Red Dynamo. And that's one issue the MCU has had is like a lot of the villains are just kind of there. None of them really really stick out as like, oh my god, like this was amazing. None of them are Loki caliber. None of them are Winter Soldier. None of them are Ultron, Thanos.
Well, you're saying that, but you're naming multiple villains.
Yeah, you're naming the big villains.
Yeah, then we had villains like Ironmonger and Abomination was cool, but
What's the dude's name? Trevor something or another that was supposedly the
bloody hell. My name's Trevor. I'm an actor. But no, it's just like Iron Man 2 is fine.
The Mandarin, yes.
Yes.
Did that just click with you?
I'm the real Mandarin.
Did that-
No, I'm the
Change
real
the dude's
Mandarin.
name. Okay.
We're gonna rip into that here in a minute.
Wait.
Talking about post-credit scenes, this one had what might be my favorite in the MCU, and that's Phil Coulson standing in Arizona in a desert.
Come here.
Sir,
Come here.
we found it. And the camera pans out, and it's Mjolnir,
Mew mew.
leading to honestly one of my favorite underrated movies in the MCU, and that's Thor.
Not biased at all.
Thor 1's fun for what it is. Come on.
I've heard a lot of people like griping that because the movie takes place over 2 days. And so people are saying that Thor goes from the arrogant, just snobby, like god that he was, to like humble and kind. And it's like, do you realize the scene with him and Mjolnir?
Blunt
the
force
base?
trauma and being hit by a car can do that to you.
Twice and then tased.
On the way to Thor's hammer.
I did see that. It's Phil Coulson. It's a little short of Phil Coulson driving to Arizona. He stops at a diner and these people try to rob it, and he's like, "No, that's not gonna happen." But yeah, Thor
Come here.
was
Come here.
one of my favorites.
Yep.
Come here.
You had Anthony Hopkins as Odin.
Mm-hmm.
You introduced Tom Hiddleston, who, fun fact, auditioned for Thor.
Remember hearing about that. That would have been
What a world that would have been.
pain.
Did y'all
Very
see
different.
the audition tape?
It's in our Tom Cruise world.
Oh please no! I'm
I
waiting on the
thought-
announcement that Tom Cruise is in Secret Wars as a variant of Tony Stark, and I'm
I
dreading
thought they
it.
already announced that.
No, he was supposed to be in Doctor Strange, but that's
Doctor
a different
Strange.
podcast in general. Yeah, it was just really good. It had kind of like a Marvel recasting with Ray Stevenson as Volstagg, and then a character who would later be recast with Zachary Levi. You had Josh Dallas as Fandral, and you had I forget his name as Hogan, and then Jamie Alexander as Lady Sif.
Mhm.
Stellan Skarsgård as oh crap,
The doctor.
yeah, the Doctor, Selvig.
Yeah.
I really like Thor. Like the visuals were just Asgard was gorgeous, and the fight scene on Jotunheim was amazing. Okay, but Darcy though,
I mean, Kat Dennings.
Kat Dennings, who would later come back in WandaVision in the best way possible. Loved her in WandaVision.
I just love everything they've done with her character so far. I wish they would
Right.
use her more, but like I can understand why they don't.
Yeah. So yeah, up until this point, what y'all's memories of the MCU so far? Like of the Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, like what comes to mind when you recall seeing them for the first time and just your experience with just those movies as a whole?
I think like at this point I was so blown away that all the movies are connected.
Yeah.
um and me trying to figure out like wait, so they all happen
So this what
together
what?
at the same time?
Oh yeah, I'm getting to that in a second. I'm getting to that in a second.
Yep. That's fair.
That's one thing
More-
about like this conversation is like there's a lot of I'll get to that in a minute because things that happen in this
Yeah,
movie
it's like, wait a minute.
come up in this
Opposite of
movie,
Mjolnir.
and it's like, what? I promise it makes sense and is not as confusing as it sounds. Yeah.
I think one of the things that comes to mind for me is um you forcing me to watch the Avengers finally, like 5 years after it came out.
Oh yeah, that did happen. Listen, Avengers was an experience for me, one that I can't wait to talk about. Again, it goes back to
It's like, oh, gotta give us 5 more minutes. We'll get there.
tune in next time on Dragon Ball Z for the continuation of this
3
conversation.
episodes later.
Goku's still powering up, but it's okay.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was just the what is this building to?
Yeah.
And then there was one more solo film before
Yeah.
the big team up.
Yes,
Definitely
the
was.
movie.
Captain America: The First Avenger, which let me tell
Yeah.
you was
Chewing on cords, you goblin.
oh my god, just
Can we talk about the bi panic? Just the bi panic
Yes, please.
completely of
Haley Atwell.
Haley Atwell, Sebastian Stan, fucking Chris.
Oh my
Half of his little squad
god.
that he created, like, just bi panic.
Just
Natalie Dormer for the
I forgot.
30 seconds
I,
she's
I
in it.
kept forgetting she was in that.
Can you not?
But
My cat is turning into a.
The cat.
this unfortunately does lead to like one of my biggest gripes with the Captain America series. I feel like they could have and should have done more with Red Skull
Yeah.
as Cat's main villain. You know, it makes sense to have him be the villain for the movie that takes place in World War II, but at the same time, when Cap goes in the ice and freezes, you know, he wakes up 75 years later. Obviously, Red Skull's nowhere to be seen.
That's
But
explained later, Nate. You gotta wait for the payoff.
yeah, we'll talk about that in the next podcast.
We'll talk about that.
Take some notes of like, all right, we're at this timestamp that came up. We'll
That being
readjust
said,
that.
hold on, just make a mental note of this. Pause right here. Open it back up on this tab. Start watching, and then hit play. We're caught up.
Yeah.
Do y'all care, because we're being incredibly informal, do y'all care if I eat?
I don't. I don't care at all.
Feast.
Nate, do you do shit?
Feast. I'm gonna go back to Thor real quick because Bella will remember this.
Oh dear.
At college,
I have
Oh
those-
boy.
so I was obsessed with Thor. I say was loosely. One of my favorite bits from the movie is this drink. I like it. Another.
Oh no.
and everyone at school
Such a good, yes.
in our circle loved it. Like they knew it and they loved it. They kept egging it on. One day,
That's such a great bit.
I barely remember this. No, wait, I do remember this because this was before. Never mind. We're sitting in the breezeway at one of the picnic tables. We're just sitting there, chit chatting, just vibing, having a good time. Someone comes up and sets a box in front of me. Open it.
Come here.
And it's a plain white coffee mug.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, what do you want me to do? Thanks. And they pour some drink in it. And they lean in. Do the thing.
Here's the thing.
And I'm looking at it and I'm sitting there like, I'm going full himbo because I'm like, do the thing? What? And one of our friends, Billy, Thor, dumbass. and then it hits me and I'm like, oh, okay. And so we're just sitting there vibing, I'm still drinking. We're sitting there, I'm a smoker at the time, so I'm smoking a cigarette. We're just vibing. And I finished the drink. Cameras come out.
At least 3 people grabbed their camera.
And I'm sitting there just like, this drink, I like it. Another! And I threw it on the ground and it shattered everywhere. The head janitor who he and I butted heads so many times because he was just a prick, was like, you gonna clean that up? No, motherfucker, I was just gonna leave it for you to do. Yes, we're gonna clean it up. Just give me a broom and I'll do it myself. I made the mess, I'll clean it up. Don't be a dick. And he told the main security guard, and the dude was like, listen, if they're gonna clean it up, let them do their thing. Just
Legally, we're adults. Mentally, we're dumb.
yeah. So like that's just one of my favorite things. Just Thor.
So you're saying there's video of this out in the wild?
Whether or not I still talk to the people who did record it is another question.
Sarah Bobbitt might have some
I
of the video if she was there that day.
I don't remember because, like I said, like out of the circle that Bill and I hung out with at college, we talked to about 2% of them.
We talk to us
Yeah, us
on a regular basis.
But no, Captain America was like just a fantastic film overall.
Yes. My favorite.
And just all the casting up until this point, was spot on. Robert Downey Jr. At the time, Edward Norton, Chris Hemsworth, which I can't believe we didn't talk about this. Iron Man 2 introduced us to Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow.
We
mentioned that.
Yeah.
We also kind of breezed over each movie because we got 12 movies to talk about.
This is fair.
But yeah, the introduction of Black Widow and Iron Man 2. I'm bad at this. Just
Like you said, 12 movies to talk about.
12 movies and 2 TV shows. But
Just
We're
a
just
few
counting.
movies.
But yeah, we got Black Widow and Iron Man 2. We got Hawkeye and Thor. Kind of
Forgot
leading up to
about that, too.
introducing all these characters, like, okay, what's going on? Then in 2012, everything leading up to this point came to a head. And
In his head, he's playing the Avengers theme, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not denying it. The build up to this movie from the time Captain America the First Avenger came out, because the post-credit scene was the teaser trailer.
Yep, basically.
And seeing like them in the same room together, like it was just fantastic. And then the marketing for it, just like Jurassic World Dominion, I collected all the cans for the Avengers, but unfortunately I didn't drink those.
Oh.
And one of them busted when I lived at Jay's house.
Sorry, Jay.
So that was fun to clean up. But no, when the movie came out, this was back when theaters still did midnight premieres. Like at midnight.
Those were a thing.
Remember midnight
I can't describe to you the level of hype and excitement that I built up for this movie with everyone that I hung out with. Everyone who knew me knew like I was hyped for the Avengers.
Can confirm.
Um,
That was very early into our friendship, and I still can confirm.
yeah, that thing. What an event! You know, it's minuscule compared to the one that comes later on, but for what it was at that time, taking that gamble and combining 5 movies into like one story, leading to one big crossover movie, and it worked. It
I want to
worked.
add. I want to add not just 5 movies, but big personalities like that.
Yeah,
They were taking a gamble and making sure everyone got along.
and everyone got proper, screen time. Which it felt like some of them didn't really get a lot to do,
Hmm.
but it worked. Like it was so good. And like the money shot of the movie was
Crazy.
No.
was when, Stark brings the Leviathan around the corner. And it's like, that's what Secret Cap, I'm always angry. Hulk's out, kills it. The theme starts playing as the Chitauri start, like, kind of landing on the building. Themes in full force. And then the camera pan around each character, standing in a circle,
Yes.
back to back. And then, as the camera kind of focuses right here, all 6 of them right there.
There's a
standing
reason that
together.
was the movie poster.
Mhm.
Just. I remember very vividly the grin I had on my face seeing that in theaters. Just.
I think you still have that grin every time you watch it. Just saying.
I mean, do you see the grin on my face just thinking about it? Actually, no, I don't think you do because we're on Discord right now and my camera thing's on. But do y'all remember the rumors that were surrounding that movie? About
Which ones?
about who else was going to be in the movie, who the villains were going to be, who the army was going to be.
I remember for a while, I think the Hulk was going to be the villain. And I think that was where they were originally going with it. But I can't remember why they changed it.
There was 3 massive rumors. One, the army they fought was going to be the Skrulls, leading to Secret Wars, but obviously that didn't happen. The big one
Not that early.
was the Avengers were going to get a little help from a certain friendly neighborhood web slinger. And it was supposed to be Andrew Garfield.
Oh, I don't
Like,
remember that.
That was the
rumor.
big rumor. And another rumor was like some of the X-Men were gonna take cameo or make appearances or something, specifically Hugh Jackman, but all the
They've been trying to
rumors.
get Hugh Jackman with the Avengers forever.
Yes, please. But just the amount of rumors that were coming out from that movie were just everyone was speculating. Everyone was like, "Oh my god, this is gonna be so cool! This is gonna be so cool! This is gonna be so cool!" While we didn't get those cameos, the movie we got was enough to be one of my third. It was enough to be my third favorite movie of all time. Which is ironic because Avengers is not my favorite movie in MCU. How that works, I still couldn't tell you.
Fair.
Your logic is strange.
It is strange. But what was y'all's experience with the Avengers? Like
Man,
seeing
much like
it,
Nate,
seeing it for the first time.
It was a midnight premiere, much like yours, Nate. So it was theater was popping. Everything was fantastic. The scene you were talking about earlier, Hulk theater
Oh,
erupted
cool.
in. Yeah, the whole theater cheered as they should, and then I know you didn't talk about it, but everything led up to
Mhm.
the end scene for that movie.
It's funny you bring that up because I was just thinking about it. I was like, speaking of post-credit scenes,
hmm That was the one that would kick off
That-
everything.
that was the one that people just lost their shit over. Just, oh my god, it's Thanos.
Yeah, that's crazy. For Avengers, one thing that sticks with me is that it has like that's my secret cap is like the line that I still say today.
That's
Like out of any of the movies, I think that's the most quotable line probably out of any of them.
that line has been
people say.
memed so
Definitely.
many times. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
that line is a meme.
That it had the longevity of that line in pop culture is really impressive. Because
Yeah.
when they said that, I don't think they intended or could predict just the sheer amount of shit posting that would come from it.
Not wrong.
There's no way they could have known, right?
Yeah.
Secret. I forgot about the other thing from that movie too. That did we get the payoff for that? I can't remember
Which one?
the question everybody asked. You and I remember Budapest very differently.
Oh yeah, the thing that never got explained.
Yeah, that was a big
I'm
question
still
forever.
waiting on like that solo film. Just let's get the intro of Black Widow and Hawkeye meeting for the first time. I want to see Budapest.
Right?
Everyone wants to see Budapest.
Yeah, I think Scarlett Johansson and Jeremy Renner want to see Budapest. So out of the MCU so far, Phase 1, like that, it's done. Phase 1 is over. What was your favorite movie out of Phase 1?
Winter Soldier.
That's Phase 2.
Wrong,
Oh,
wrong one.
The ones that we talked about so far.
Probably it's probably like I can give like a top 3, I think. Would be like the easiest thing for me.
This is fine.
Would be Avengers number 1, Iron Man 2, number 3, Captain America, personally.
I
Fair.
think I would have to say either Captain America or Avengers.
No. I don't like to count those in the like. I like to keep them as their own separate thing, like the team up movies. Definitely Captain America for me out of that
Yeah.
phase,
Captain
not
America
excluding
or-
Avengers because I don't
Yeah,
keep.
of the solo movies.
Because Avengers is such an easy answer too.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
true.
It's like
That's fair.
it's like
It is arguably the best because it's like everyone's here.
Yeah,
everybody's
and it
there.
was
Yeah.
done
Yeah.
so well.
And that had been an accumulation of 4 years of work.
Yeah,
So it was, at the time, a huge deal, like you said.
which that led
Yeah.
to multiple studios, like I said before, trying to make their own cinematic universe and failing. Glares at you, DC.
Not just DC, but
You had
A lot, though.
Universal
Universal.
attempted a monster, like a horror
multiple
monsterverse,
times.
and like it was the Mummy
They
reboot
attempted.
in 2017 was supposed to launch that, but you know how that turned out.
I thought the Wolfman launched that.
Yeah, it wasn't just, they kept trying to launch it because it wasn't just the Mummy. They tried the same thing with Frankenstein, and they tried it with Dracula Untold. They have been trying it multiple times.
Yeah, I forgot about that movie too.
Dracula Untold was
But
really good.
we already have the perfect monster universe Avengers style movie, and it's fucking Van Helsing.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Van Helsing should have started it, but at the same time,
Exactly.
like killing Dracula in that movie feels like a
It,
Yeah.
I mean, they could have built up Dracula to be kind of like a Thanos-esque villain, or he could have been something like Loki and then go after something else.
But yeah, just the amount of people trying to start a cinematic universe and it just not doing good. Which is unfortunate because you want to see these studios succeed. You want to see these films succeed. Because, I think one of my favorite things is, like variety. Because I don't like just saying like, oh yeah, I love all the comic book movies. I want to say I love like these different types of movies. But comic books are always so good. Up until last year. But we're not talking about that yet.
Not yet. To be determined.
That's for phase 3. No, that's for phase 4. Excuse me. But yeah, phase 1 is over. Now comes phase 2, which started with, I want to say
Iron Man.
Agents of Shield came first before Iron Man 3.
Oh, well, technically, but yeah.
Which I don't think a lot of people remember Agents of Shield. I don't think a lot of people watched Agents of Shield. It's the movie that brought back. It's the show that brought back Phil Coulson.
I think some people watched it because it brought him back, but then after a while it kind of teetered off
It kind of did.
until like the big plot twist and later seasons, and I started hearing more people talk about it again.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to say even less people ended up watching Peggy Carter.
Which is really sad because that was amazing.
It was a good show, but I don't think people knew how important the shows were gonna eventually be.
They really don't. They still don't. They still don't. All the
Well-
Disney Plus TV shows coming out. So many people are saying I haven't watched that show yet. You should.
Get me.
Like with
Well,
WandaVision.
Nate, you
Behind.
watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for the most part, didn't you?
I did.
Like, because I forgot back then, or was it during this, that it was like, didn't they have like Ghost Rider shit on there?
Yeah, that was season.
Yeah, I forgot
4?
that. I was like, oh,
Robbie
we
Reyes,
did that in.
and that was really well done. But it brought in I don't want to say her name wrong because I can't remember it off the top of my head, but the woman who voiced Mulan. She came in as Agent May, Melinda May,
Oh gosh, what is her name?
and she was also in The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett.
Whoops. Sorry, Kitty.
But you had like I thought the whole team was fantastic. Though Ward got annoying at well. But my favorite was the character who started off as just Sky, ended up being Daisy Johnson, aka Quake. The show had some hit or miss episodes, but what show doesn't? But as a Marvel product, I thought it was pretty good. It was just like this team of Shield agents going to like different scenarios where like, oh well, this is here, like Alien, Remnant, just all kinds of stuff. Like I thought it was really well done. But no, the big intro to Phase 2 for a lot of people was Iron Man 3. Which
The real
boy,
Mandarin.
that was a thing that happened.
Sure
Funny.
was.
And then they brought that choice back.
Yeah, that thing.
But that's for another show.
Yeah, that's for next time on Dragon Ball Z. Ming Na Wen. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Amazing actress. Love her. I feel bad that I can never remember her name. But yeah, Iron Man 3 was a thing that happened.
Was a thing. But,
Still haven't seen it all the way through.
well, the main thing for that, and a lot of people forget the hype, that was the first thing we got after Avengers.
Yeah.
So, like, that the build up for that.
And the next
Yeah.
one wasn't any better for a lot of people.
I kind of like how they incorporated Tony is like his PTSD.
Yes,
can
that
see-
element.
How it begins to affect him after essentially dying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the man went through a portal into deep space and saw like a huge army of aliens coming towards him.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's enough to shake somebody, regardless of how like strong-minded you think you are. If you see something like that, it can
Fuck
affect
with
you.
Mm.
And it definitely did Tony Stark.
It did indeed.
But you had Ben Kingsley as arguably the best, like the character of the Mandarin is like the best Iron Man villain. Like, he's the top villain for Iron Man. And the way, like, the first half of the movie was so good. Like, I don't want to say spy thriller. I don't think spy is the right word for it. But, you know, like, them attacking Happy and Tony getting pissed. Like, you attacked my best friend. You want me? Come get me. Here's my address. And then they come to him. Like, they come to him. And, like, he has to scramble to get, you know, back on his feet to take down the Mandarin, and everything up until the big reveal was really good. Like the way they were, producing, revealing, incorporating the Mandarin, like all the different terrorist-esque videos, was so good.
I think that was also pretty almost ballsy for them at the time, considering like everything that the country had gone through in the
Yeah.
past like 15 years at that point.
Yeah, because took place in 2013, so shit was still going down back then.
Yep.
But and then when it was revealed that Ben Kingsley wasn't actually the Mandarin, he was an actor pretending to be the Mandarin. It was like, huh? Now, granted, it had one of the best solo final fight sequences with all the Iron Man suits coming in. But here's the thing about the Ben Kingsley twist. As someone who, like, you know, watched everything that came out from Marvel, except for Inhumans, we don't talk about that. When I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit. When Thor: The Dark World came out on DVD and Blu-ray, it came with a one-shot that was filmed back when Marvel still did one-shots, and I kind of miss them because they were like 5, 6, 7 minute like little mini specials, just kind of quote unquote continuing the story / adding to an established plot. And the one that came out for Thor: The Dark World was called Hail to the King. And it showed Ben Kingsley in prison. And, like, he's just going through his days in prison. At the very end of it, this person comes in and corners him, gun to his head, and says, "You stole my boss's face. He wants it back." Kind of indicating that the Mandarin was like the real Mandarin, gonna like show up at some point. And that really gave me hope for the future of like that character. Because while I didn't like the twist, looking at it for what it was from a non-comic book perspective, I kind of dug it. But, you know, as a comic book fan, as a comic book movie, didn't like it. But what about y'all? I feel like I'm talking way too much.
You're good.
No, yeah, it's, you know, I think almost everyone probably agrees Iron Man 3 was the weakest. At least to me, it's the weakest of the Iron Man movies. I preferred Iron Man 1 and 2 above it.
Like I said, Tony Stark for the longest time
Yeah.
was my least favorite of the characters, so I didn't really
Yeah, that didn't really
watch
help. That
all
doesn't,
of his.
yeah, that doesn't really help Iron Man's case at all with his solo films, with him in general. Like, I just didn't really care for the character. Even though
Other
Robert
than
Downey
in Iron
Jr.
Man 1
is like,
Yeah.
when you say an actor is perfect for a role, you think of Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark.
Yeah.
But
I think Iron Man 1, I liked him as a solo movie, but then other than that, I think he's better as I'm Iron Man, but I'm in your movie.
Yeah.
Or I'm in this movie in the group.
It's like an entourage type film.
Yeah.
I think Tony Stark is his best person when he's not by himself. Like, as a person, because then, like, your mind wanders and then you get your inner demons and all sorts of shit like that. So he works better when he's with other people and are very distracted, making killer robots.
Yep, I agree. It's probably the weakest of this bunch for me as well.
Really?
It's the one I
Really?
it's the one I have the least fondest memories with,
Same.
honestly. Out of the list of the Phase 2 movies, anyway.
Because here's a hot take. I didn't hate the
Uh-oh.
next movie at all.
Me either.
Could it
That's
have been
funny.
better? Yes. Could they have utilized the main villain better? Absolutely. But overall, Thor: The Dark World is not that bad a movie.
I don't think
Well,
it deserves the hate it gets.
It doesn't.
Yep.
I'm
The
still
only
carry on. Carry on.
I would say the one thing with that movie that always drives me insane is that the plot of that, the villain for that is like, yeah, we're gonna put the whole universe in darkness, and I'm like, you need more than just Thor for that.
Yeah.
Uh,
But the fact that they had Christopher Eccleston, my favorite Doctor Who actor, as the villain, and that's what we get.
you want to talk about gross misusage of a villain? You said Ben Kingsley.
Disclaimer: Nate is just a little biased.
Counterpoint.
Slightly.
She's correct.
No, I didn't. It was so crazy that I didn't even realize that's who that was until way
A
later.
lot of people didn't.
The makeup and the special effects they used for that movie was phenomenal. Because had you not known that that was Eccleston, I don't think you would have been able to tell. Because I can look at the character dead in the face and I'm like, "That are you sure?"
A lot of people did the same thing with Colin Farrell from the Batman as Penguin.
Yeah, that's too.
That's what I love about visual effects. Like when it's on point, it is on point. And I think it's a good thing. Like here's one thought I just had like 2 seconds ago. The fact that you had no idea that was Eccleston tells me theoretically, if he wanted to, he could try his hand again at a different role in the future.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's nothing that says he can't be recasted as a different person.
Because like he is so different. Like that character, like just you could tell it wasn't him, so it's easy to just we'll just put him back in here. No one's gonna notice. Because like y'all just said, nobody had a clue.
Yeah.
That's just me.
I think you could still
That's just me wanting that.
just me and nothing on what's her face, but I think you could have removed that whole plot of the ethereal or whatever going into her. Yeah,
Natalie
like
Portman.
and Natalie Portman, and it wouldn't have done the movie any different, in my opinion. I felt like it was such a weird plot line they threw in there.
I'm trying to think. Meanwhile, while I think, Tony, what's your thoughts on it?
When I think of Third Dark World, I think of a lot of things. But I also think of the after credit scene too. So
The after credit for that.
The cute one or the other one?
What was the
Okay.
after credits scene?
Maybe I'm misremembering him, but didn't it have the collector in it?
Yes,
Was
it
that
did.
the one?
Yes, it did.
It did?
Yeah.
That was the mid-credit scene. What happens is
Yeah.
Sif and Volstagg go to nowhere.
Hmm.
The
Planet?
Oh yeah,
the
yeah. Okay.
head,
That,
where the collector, played by Benicio del Toro, resides, and they're like, the Tesseract's already on Asgard. It's not wise to keep two Infinity Stones so close together.
Yeah.
And so they give him the ether to kind of keep an eye on, just so they're separated, to keep it away from Thanos.
Hmm.
And then he's like, 1 down, 5 to go, kind of indicating he wants them for himself or whatever.
I remember that now.
Yes.
But the post-credit scene was Thor returning to Earth to Jane, and her running out, just kissing him on the balcony. But the cute thing about that scene is that's not Natalie Portman running out to kiss him on the balcony. That's his wife.
Say, wasn't that like a body double? Aw.
It was his wife as the body double.
That's cute.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that is really
That's
cute.
awesome. Yep. Yeah, I'll tell you what. One of the things that for this movie, if you remember, back when the hype, and still now when we get trailers, the thing I remember about like I have to see this movie is the way they cut that trailer, and then Loki's like, "You must be truly desperate to come to me for." I'm like, "Oh, what are we gonna get here?" And
Yeah.
it was
Hype. Do you mean him? That guy?
What are you talking about?
All the hype?
Oh,
I
it
am
was
the
hype.
hype.
Yeah, it was definitely hype. But no, that was the other thing, and there was a lot of
I looked the wrong way and
I guess
it ruined the whole bit.
yeah, it's fine. It came back, like we said, we've been saying down the line, but there was a lot of psychological elements in this
Mhm.
movie that played out, like, especially with what Loki does and what it causes.
Thor and Loki in this movie in general were so good together. I love Chris and Tom together.
Their chemistry was great.
It's always
That's good.
It's always top notch, and like them arguing after Freya. Obviously, spoiler alert for these movies. This movie came out in 2013.
Well, there are some.
That's been 10 years, Nate. Oh
I
gosh,
know,
that's
I know,
crazy.
but I'm always hesitant.
Not the
to drop-
spoiler alert, just like to think about. That's been
It
10
has
years
been
ago.
10 years. Oh.
You want to
Hey,
know?
in his defense, Shirks hasn't seen all of the Phase 2 movies.
No, the only one he hasn't seen is the one we're talking about next.
All of the Phase 2 movies. If he hasn't seen one of them, that statement is valid.
Yeah, that thing. But one thing that I'm trying to grasp in my head, and this is so random, but it's related to Thor, I promise. I just realized that this year is my sister and brother-in-law's 10th year wedding anniversary, I think.
Hey, 10 years.
Waiting to
No,
see
it's
how
not.
this.
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. Never mind. Never mind. I'm dumb. Wait, yeah,
What?
it is.
What are you?
The
What are we
reason-
talking about?
What brings it up is for my
Ladies and
brother-in-law's
gentlemen. The Himbo King.
Hi. For my brother-in-law's bachelor party, I was in charge of it because the best man couldn't make it in town in time, and so he was like, "It's on you. Throw me a party." I'm like, "Okay." So we had a Nerf war, we had a Budokai 3 tournament.
Oh, we
and-
need to do that.
And
Nate.
we went and saw Thor: The Dark World in theaters.
Yeah.
Yo, can we do that?
Do what?
Can we do that? Like, I want to do a Nerf war.
Oh, he's got an arsenal. Like he's loaded. But I need to text him later and be like, "Yo, what?" Anyway. But yeah, that was Thor: The Dark World, and it had issues, but it was I thought it was really good.
Well,
I really enjoyed.
there's no
Thor's
point
fight
in.
with Malekith.
I was gonna make the joke up. I better not.
What joke?
I was saying, well, podcast is done after the next movie.
Oh yeah, because next movie it's spoiler alert. My favorite movie in the MCU.
Yes.
Captain America: Winter Soldier. Just
It's not often that you have a sequel better than the previous movie.
on the scale that this one is.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
will say that I think one of the issues that the first Captain America had was that it was still trying to establish one MCU as a whole, and two, it
Introduce its
had
characters.
to it had to introduce a lot of characters
Which it-
considering
Which it did really well. And
it
that
has
and that's not a knock on the movie at all.
There was a lot of subtle things in that movie, and I loved every bit of it.
Which, bouncing off what you say, is like where the first movie had to introduce the characters and establish who they are, what they stand for, and just them in this universe. I always look forward to like the sequels to movies like that because you don't have to worry about establishing the main characters. You know who these people are.
Mhm.
You can just go full force. Yeah, you'll introduce new characters like Sam Wilson, You get that's only the main new character you get introduced to. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of and it's a lot of seeing old characters from the first movie, like in different, not necessarily different roles, but in different ways. Like we get Elder Peggy Carter, we get Computer Zola, we get
Bucky as the Winter Soldier, which that fight on the freeway, not the freeway, but like in the street, just that hand to hand combat, like that was so good. And if I remember right, people can look this up and correct me on this. Like that was all Chris and Sebastian. Like that wasn't a stunt team. That was Chris and Sebastian fighting. And that remains my favorite MCU fight scene up until Shang-Chi comes out.
Yeah, that's just one of the best movies, man.
It has one of my favorite
This movie
cat
gave us
suits.
so much.
What were you saying? Sorry.
Who, me?
No, Tony.
Yeah, Tony.
Oh, apologies. Yeah, I was saying this movie gave us so much because we got to keep in mind this is also where like we get Scarlet Witch from. We saw Quicksilver. We saw so many so many things that like I think like would shape. This almost was like to me like I think I liked the Winter Soldier a lot because like to me it was like not Avengers but Avengers adjacent because like it had a bunch of like our lovable characters in it.
It had Cap.
But,
it had
yeah,
Black Widow.
yes.
It had the
Yeah.
introduction of Falcon.
Mm-hmm. So it had like a cool list of heroes or but it was so good. It's so hard to say it's not too good. It's so good.
I'm telling you,
gives
it
us
is
such
the
a foundation to
perfect Marvel movie, in my opinion.
It's the perfect sequel.
Yes.
It is the perfect sequel. Like, I can't think of many movies where the sequel is this much better than the predecessor. Like, Captain America Winter Soldier is my favorite sequel in any franchise.
Hard to beat it, right? Like, it's...
Like, the banter between Chris and Anthony Mackie, Falcon, like, was just, like, from the very beginning. With the, like, battle set on your left. Just that opening sequence was so good. And then like them on the helicarrier, you weigh a lot more than you than you look. I had a big breakfast. But
there's so many of those interactions that are just so great.
It also introduced like one of the biggest political like twists in that Hydra's always been operating through Shield, and so they had to bring down Shield to bring down Hydra.
Mm-hmm.
Which was a massive thing in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show. Because halfway through season 1, the Winter Soldier comes out. The next episode is the team dealing with that fallout.
I was about to say, it affected that show the heaviest, definitely.
Because one of the main characters who was on the team was like everyone's favorite character, turned out to be a Hydra spy. And like when that plot, like people were pissed.
Oh yeah, I didn't watch the show, and I still remember like the rage that came from that.
Yeah. But there's one thing about Winter Soldier that we didn't talk about yet. We, of all the characters to say it, Robert Redford said the words, "Hail Hydra." Something about that I just really like. Yeah. So yeah, I think we all agree.
That's good.
Captain America Winter Soldier, good soup.
Good. Who could forget the elevator scene?
One of the best sequences. What? I read something about that recently. Someone broke ribs in that fight.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
Doesn't surprise
Like
me.
I forget who it was. I think it was either Chris Evans or oh crap, what's his name? The guy who played
The dude playing Crossbones?
Crossbones. Thank you. Like
Yep.
in that fight, someone broke a nose and shattered some ribs. Because again, that was all Chris. Like Chris is hands on with his stunts, and
Yeah,
it's
it wouldn't
like he
surprise
has
me
a
if
stunt man,
somebody
like
did that.
obviously, but like that elevators fight.
Well, you talk about the universe building as well. There was another little nugget in that movie that a
Mhm.
lot of people forgot about
Mhm.
that was said, and I was like,
Introduce my
"Oh,
wife. I mean,
that's."
what?
But no, 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 not that one.
What are you
No,
talking
Tony
about?
mentioned that one.
No, I was talking about the bit that introduced, well, didn't introduce at that time, but Doctor Strange.
Yeah, it did.
That's right. There is that throwaway line.
I was like, "Ooh, so we're getting that at some point."
Which leads me to say this. Not to go back to Endgame. Well, go back to Endgame. Not to go to Endgame, but um, uh, when Bruce is talking to the Ancient One,
Mm.
you know, like he time travels to New York during the Avengers to go get the Time Stone.
Yep.
So what confuses me about that line is at this point, Stephen Strange is still just a surgeon. So for them to consider him, you know, a Hydra level threat, even as a standard surgeon, without realizing who he's supposed to become, like what?
I want
Yeah.
to say that they do kind of explain it in the movie as like the programming from
It
whatever
predicts
it is
who.
they're using. Yeah,
It predicts like
can
that people can
predict.
turn bad.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's an algorithm.
So the algorithm was good enough to be able to predict Stephen Strange getting into the car accident and becoming Sorcerer Supreme.
But there's one other name. They didn't say a name, but they mentioned something else in there. I know that you did mention that. I wonder if you realize someone from Cairo,
Yeah. So
Moon
the
Knight.
news anchor in Cairo, Bruce Banner, Stephen String. Yeah, there was
Yeah,
that.
which the like news anchor in Cairo. You know that's a long shot, but you know
I
you
don't
hear
think I
that.
noticed that.
Your,
Yeah.
your first thought is, "Ooh, Moon Knight," because
Neither.
Cairo. Unless there's someone
Yeah.
else I can't think about, but
I don't know, because in the movie it was like boom, boom, click. All I
yeah,
heard was Stephen Strange. What?
yeah. First thought was like, "Oh shit," and then like you mentioned
Yeah.
earlier, the post credit scene introducing the twins,
Oh yeah.
Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, and just it's no secret that Elizabeth Olsen is my celebrity crush, and
You want to talk about Elizabeth Olsen, but I still have a crush on uh Aaron Taylor Johnson. Like both of them actually, but still.
yeah, Elizabeth Olsen just her as Scarlet Witch has been one of my favorite like
Oh,
character storylines.
it's been a great storyline.
Just seeing her go through all this stuff and finally hitting a breaking point. But anyway, that's again, that's for the future.
For another
It
show.
is for the future. You get into the next movie. Now, this was a very controversial movie before it came out.
Yeah, when it
because
first
it-
announced.
Sage!
Sage, hi, welcome on in. How are you? Love your face. Ooga chaka, ooga chaka, ooga, ooga, ooga chaka.
Because
Before we got the trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy, nobody knew what kind of movie we were getting. The big um the big thought was, you know, since Marvel up until this point has been playing it kind of serious up until this point, and so people thought that Guardians was gonna be, you know, just like a serious tone Marvel space movie, which I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, they
Guardians was one of the biggest like surprises to come out of the MCU at this point in the best possible way.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Guardians of the Galaxy so much.
The song for Marvel Snap. I don't think I did, but I will look at it. Post the link in chat. We'll check it out here in a little bit.
Yeah.
No, because I remember even before I was like, they're making a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. That okay? And then what we got was like, ooh.
And then they announced the cast, and it was like, really?
Stacked.
Well, like Chris Pratt, no big deal, no big deal. Zoe Saldana, awesome, cool. Bradley Cooper as Rocket Raccoon. I was wanting David Tennant. I was wanting David Tennant as Rocket
I feel
Raccoon.
like I feel like of the cast, a lot of people were surprised by Pratt because if I'm remembering correctly, until Guardians came out, the only thing he was really known for was playing Andy in
Yeah.
Parks and Rec.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the movie came out. I was like, what?
Yeah, I was like,
No.
oh, this guy can actually be a heartthrob, which is weird.
Yeah. But one of the biggest
Yeah.
surprising casts, aside from Vin Diesel as Groot, only saying three words the entire movie.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
How much money did he make from that?
Considering he recorded
So much.
the Groot lines in every single language.
Yes, he did, which is my favorite thing. Yo soy Groot.
But
Well, we are on what, Fast and Furious 11 now, so that's how much
10,
money.
10
Or
So-
10, I'm sorry.
was no longer searching
Wait.
the Winter Soldier when Strange was in the car accident around Iron Man.
No, wasn't that he was talking about the guy who had the back injury? Wasn't that Rhodey from Civil War?
That's the big rumor.
Because that was
Because
the
Doctor
connection
Strange
that I made.
happened. Hold on.
Because they
No,
started getting real time skippy.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. Doctor Strange timeline. Let's see. While we
Can't
keep talking
believe
about
you
this, carry on.
didn't,
Oh wait,
Didn't mention the one casting, Nate.
I
Old
was in the
Dave
process.
Batista.
I was in the
I was
process
gonna
of
say,
before
when's
this came
Dave
up.
Batista gonna be mentioned? Because, my God, what?
No,
a
no, 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 no,
casting
no, 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 no.
choice.
Dave Batista was the third option.
He
Who
was
were
the
the other
third
two?
option.
You know who they really wanted for Drax the Destroyer?
You're gonna say something off the wall. I know it.
Jason Momoa.
Oh, that would have been a world.
I just,
I can't even imagine that world.
I can't picture it. But like,
Would he have pulled a Karen and shaved his head?
Yeah.
Oh,
Super important question for you in chat, Nate.
yeah.
Because Squirrel Brain, do you like rap and do you like K-pop? Not a big
Then
fan
we'll
of
throw
rap,
it-
but I can do some K-pop.
So in our alternate toss-up Avengers universe, we have Tom Cruise, Jason Momoa,
Yeah,
Tom
that goes.
Hiddleston as Thor.
yeah.
So what you're telling me is we could potentially get Jason as another character in alternate universe times.
I mean, we're apparently getting that anyway.
Fair.
Yeah. That's hard to fathom. You said, so who was second, or do you know?
Can't remember off the top of my head, but I know Jason Momoa was the big one they wanted. And I'm like, okay.
Well, it should have been The Rock.
No.
That's why I was waiting for someone to be like,
Oh,
it was The Rock, because another wrestler.
Uh-huh.
Like, I thought that's what was gonna happen.
I mean, that was where my brain went first. Was
Yeah.
oh yeah, Dwayne Johnson. It makes sense. He's an actor.
Yeah.
He used to wrestle. Much to Nate's chagrin.
Listen, I only really gripe about his performance as Black Adam.
Oh, so
One
I
thing. Oh, good. No, you go.
found a cool list here, and I'll send it to you, Nate. It was talking about people who were considered for the other roles. Rocket surprises me.
I think I'm
so-
looking at the same one that you didn't. That I think you meant to send me. It might be the same website. Adam
Maybe.
Sandler.
Adam Sandler. Yep.
And
Oh,
David Tennant
Chad
was in there.
Gaspard. Okay.
well,
And then
at
the
one
last
point-
one for Rocket on that list. I don't know if I could have lived in that world.
who was the last one on the list?
Hold on. Oh,
Hi, Prez. Thanks for the lurk.
is it the one I'm thinking?
Prez of the castle.
Oh no!
Prez.
Hold on. Oh no. Okay, one of those I could have seen. The other one, no. Jim Carrey.
Oh, Jim Carrey's in there, but no, the one Bella is Danny DeVito as Rocket Raccoon.
I can kind of see that though.
That would have been fun.
I can kind of see that
That
though
would've
because look at him
that
as
would
Phil.
so good.
It would have been amazing, but no. Bradley Cooper's performance
He's
as
such a
Rocket
different character.
was, to me, he was the show stealer. Also, Prez, I love your face. Thank you so much for the lurk and the 18-month gift sub. Y'all know what I gotta do.
Yeah, that or Rocket is H. John Benjamin. I couldn't do that because all I see is Archer.
Friendos, Prez is currently live if you would like to return the lurk.
Absolutely.
True.
Hee hee hee. Birthday cake or dirty dishwater? I'm okay with it. But yeah, then we got another casting that a lot of people seem to kind of sleep on is Karen Gillian as Nebula, who did
Yeah.
shave her head for the role.
Yeah, I remember the pandemonium
Oh, that's dirty.
when she revealed that.
Oh yeah, she was
What-
at Comic Con wearing a
Yeah.
wig. Oh, by the way, you want to see something cool? Yoink.
Someone asked her like, "Hey, do you think you were ever gonna like shave your head to be comic book accurate?" And she said, "Well, funny you should mention that. I think I made a very rash decision," and just like took off her wig.
And it was just what?
Like that had to have been
Dirty
the
dishwater.
biggest reveal until Tom pulled his shit like the next year.
Oh God, Tom. Was a kid. But
Yeah.
speaking of casting, this movie did have one of my favorite villains, like minor, quote unquote, like sub villains. I say sub villains. I
Kind
like
of like many bosses.
I liked Lee Pace as Ronan.
Mm.
Yeah, I didn't care for Ronan that much.
I thought it was pretty fun. Like when he finally got like the power, when he finally got the orb, and like he had the power, he was like, "Fuck you, Thanos." And Thanos was like, "Oh, you're mine, son."
I
Yeah,
don't think Lee Pace got enough screen time to be able to be fully like appreciated. Like they
Oh, he did.
almost did him the same way that they did Eccleston in Thor 2.
But he had a little bit more to go on, and he was able to prove himself a little bit more menacing than Malekith was.
Yeah, you really don't see a lot of menacing Pace characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was building
for
to
what they-
that. I was building to that. But first, the other casting choice in this movie, Michael Rooker as Yondu.
So good.
Like, you mean the
Fucking
racist
hate
asshole
girls
from The
that
Walking
fucking
Dead?
love Michael.
I love Michael Rooker's amazing. Like, just
Did Yondu so well. Like
Mhm.
oh yeah.
it's just
and then James Gunn's brother was
yes.
the other guy. I can't remember his name.
What is his
That
name?
one guy, you know.
Yeah, that one person.
Maybe it
He's
might
in
be
the
like
thing.
Ratchet or something.
I was about to say, wasn't he like the stand-in like body double?
He was the stand-in for Rocket, but he was also like an active character because he's in all the Guardians things.
No, yeah, I know. He was
But he wore the green suit, and
One
he's the
who's
one who's
second
had
hand?
Drax petted.
Yeah, no. It's definitely I don't know, it was definitely interesting because it turned Guardians into like more of a household name now.
It really did.
Like
And-
nobody
and
knew.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it. But it also had like one of the coolest space battle sequences.
Mhm.
Because that space
It
battle
did.
was really cool. And then the quote unquote final fight, if you want to call it a fight.
Yeah.
Ooh, child.
It's the greatest boss battle of all time.
Really?
good
What
boss
would happen
battle.
if a bard was to
Yes.
Hit rolling at 20.
Yeah.
Quick, distract him.
just roll a d10, hit a nat 20, and be like, all right, go
Dance
for
off.
it. How
Dance
are
off.
you going to defeat him?
Like, what are you
Like,
doing?
I'm gonna
Yep,
do
battle.
it. Dance battle.
Like his face was like I am the conqueror, blah blah blah. Ooh, child. The
Yep.
fuck are you doing?
Dance off, bro.
I'm distracting you, you turd blossom.
Something that I think was so I liked Ronin was because Ronin almost felt like Ronin was supposed to be in like a serious movie. Like Ronin's attitude was still like I'm serious, and the Guardians are like, nah,
Yeah.
we're gonna be goofy as hell still though. And like he was just like, what is happening right now? Like, why are you so goofy?
Why are you dancing?
Why are you people like this? Like,
Why are you
it's
the way you are?
it still reads or it still watches like someone's one-off crack shot of a D&D campaign.
But one of my favorite things that I've heard about Guardians of the Galaxy is you can almost picture this being a dream sequence that Andy has while at work one day in Park and Rec.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
But
Oh, that would be good.
speaking of like in the past build-ups, we get the next crossover.
We
Next
do.
in a film that a lot of people feel like should have come after the movie that follows it, considering who's in it and the comic accurate origin of the main villain in Age of Ultron. Joss Whedon took a lot of creative liberty with this movie. In that,
That's my statement.
yeah, that thing. And creating Ultron without Hank Pym, and putting that role on Bruce Banner, because in the comics it is Hank Pym and Tony Stark who create Ultron. Bruce had nothing to do with it.
But
The
go ahead.
characterization of Hank Pym in the Marvel Universe, from what I've been told, is completely different than in the comics.
Oh yeah.
Like, I've heard people go on long rants about how Reese Richards and Hank Pym are
yeah.
in top running for worst Marvel dad ever, which is
And husband.
long list. Let's be real.
Fun fact about Mr. Fantastic. And this, just go with me on this. In Dragon Ball Z Abridged, the episode when Goku goes to get the spaceship from Dr. Briefs to go to Namek, Mrs. Briefs comes out with a tray and blah blah blah, talking to Goku. Dr. Briefs walks up. Now, honey, what did I tell you? Wives are for kissing, not talking. Lanny and Nick, it's the same character. Lanny and Kaiser have confirmed, which obviously, that line was taken directly from a comic piece from Mr. Fantastic from the 60s.
Wow.
Because
The nerve.
that is a line that Mr. Fantastic, that Reed Richards says in the comics. Wives are for kissing, not talking.
Hate that.
So
60s. Wild time.
yay, comics. But
Ugh.
yeah, the switching of the origins aside, again, another movie that gets a lot of hate. I don't think it deserves.
Don't think it does either. It's one of my favorite team ups they do.
I like aspects of it. I dislike aspects of it.
Yeah, it's got some things I wish they hadn't done. A certain
But
Like,
just like
romance.
you were talking about with the Vision thing, like I liked it in the terms of the MCU because it was clearly a setup from Avengers 1 and then Iron Man 3, the PTSD. He's like, got to find a way to stop the threat when it happens, and that was the culmination of that.
And obviously, like you said, Vision. We get Vision. We get Scarlet Witch. We get Quicksilver.
I like that we get a more fleshed out Hawkeye.
Oh, I loved
Like,
Hawkeye in this. Hawkeye
Oh
was
yeah, that too.
was the standout.
yeah, we begin to explore him as a character. We are introduced to his family, which until then, none of it, like a lot of us didn't know existed if you only watched the movies. And
They
I
didn't know
still
either.
remember, I still remember the echoing heartbreak that was the shippers between him and Nat. Just
Oh yeah, that.
Yeah,
But no, they're
so
just
they
best
didn't know
friends.
either.
They're just best friends in the cutest way possible.
Well, and I'll tell you that Nat knew about his family, right? It was the
Oh
others
yeah.
that didn't.
yeah,
Yeah.
Obviously Fury knew,
I-
but
I think for some reason I feel like one of the kids refer to her as like his Aunt Nat or something.
Yeah.
when they
Yeah.
go there.
Yeah, I think the little girl does, and I
Hmm.
remember there's an exchange between her and like the future kid where she calls him a traitor because he is a boy instead of a girl.
yeah.
And, looking back at retrospect in these, and we've talked about each Avenger, like the little seeds they set up in there, like you come to appreciate those now.
Mhm.
Like the whole Stark and Cap debate, the ripping of the law, like
Oh my god.
what that sets up in the future. I'm like, oh wow, they really put the
And
little seeds.
and even as far back as Avengers 1, you can see the little bits, the seeds of discourse between the two of them when they're again clashing egos, and you get the infamous billionaire playboy philanthropist.
Oh yeah.
Which if I remember right, that had to do like that was the influence of the scepter manipulating their minds a little bit, kind of turning them against each other. Because the scepter has the mind stone. No, it doesn't. Yeah, it does. Yes, it does.
No, it had
scepter has the Mind Stone.
Yeah. Okay.
That's when it started battle.
That log is when my crush on Chris.
So it started.
Really?
Man is
That?
built like a Dorito.
Not-
He's fun to look at.
Not when he comes out of the chamber. How do you feel? Taller. Them pecs though.
Okay, but even pre-serum Steve, he's adorable.
Like his determination alone just. Oh, by the way, going back to Captain America: The First Avenger, do you realize that Jenna Coleman was in it?
Yeah,
I keep forgetting.
She's-
She was one of the girls on a double date.
I can't remember if they try to tie her into a future character, but I think that's the woman that he meets on the stairs as Star. People are saying as Star Lord's grandma.
No, that's someone else. That was another girl entirely. Which that actress did play Star Lord's mom in Guardians of the Galaxy.
I know, that's why a lot of people are trying to say that, like, especially now that She-Hulk confirmed it.
Yeah. So, yeah. Captain America, Fox.
Yeah. That's still probably a close second for the money shot, as Nate said, the opening of that movie.
I
Oh, yeah, and
really
you can
liked the
tell-
sequence in the church when the team was fighting the Ultron bots.
That one is probably my favorite of the two. I believe mine is right after Clint has the pep talk with Wanda, and she comes out of the building and she's just like, yeet.
Battle, I got you. That makes sense.
There are two scenes in this movie that I feel like I want to talk about. One of them is very bit just silly thing that's one off. There's a scene with Hawkeye and Quicksilver, or like I forget what Quicksilver says to Hawkeye, but
I think I know
something
what scene you're talking
sassy.
about.
Yeah, and Hawkeye's just
up,
like,
man.
I can do it right now. it was Quicksilver.
Just
I didn't
draws
see
a
him.
bow. No one
Yeah.
even know what happened.
And
He just saunters
Not
off
see that
after him.
For the longest time was a sound on this channel.
I love that.
You didn't see that coming?
No.
Oh, something else that we kind of completely glossed over for Avengers 2.
Well, we're still talking about it, so we haven't talked about everything
Well,
else.
we haven't addressed it yet, but the like villain of the like midway, I guess.
Ultron?
Are you talking about?
No, maybe the beginning, like the first half, because weren't they part of not necessarily Hydra, but like a major corporation or
It was
something?
Hydra. It was Hydra.
It was Hydra? Okay.
They were going to take down a Hydra base, and they didn't realize this base is where Wanda and Pietro were being experimented on
Right.
with
yeah.
the scepter. Also,
And then-
yeah, the scene when Quicksilver tries to grab Thor's hammer. This is mine. Oh, no, never mind.
And then all of just Andy Serkis.
Oh, yeah, Andy Serkis was amazing. Which Andy Serkis leads into arguably one of the second best hero versus hero fights, because the first best comes in phase 3. Hulk versus Hulkbuster.
Oh yeah. I still quote that whenever I'm trying to play a video game and kill somebody. Just go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep.
Spits out tooth.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
What
But
was the other scene, Tony?
Oh, the other scene is everyone trying to pick up the hammer, right?
Oh,
Oh,
the
yeah.
hammer. Yes.
the cat budging it,
Yeah, and it just like you could
The
see
look of-
Thor like
His heart stops. And then halfway through
The
the
look of
movie, Vision just
terror.
comes up. We need to go. Here's your hammer.
and it's yep.
Okay.
So
it's
I say I'm curious. Are you guys of the camp? I always said he could lift it there, but just said no. I'm not going to do
yes, 100% yes.
Oh,
He's like,
he
wait, nope.
It's
I-
it's
Well,
not
some
Captain
people are
America's
like-
style to
Yeah.
show him
I read
up.
a fan.
So that's-
I read a theory about that I kind of like. He knew that Bucky. Spoiler alert, I guess. He knew that Bucky killed Tony's parents, but he kept that a secret. The fan
That's
theory
not-
is the reason he couldn't lift it at that point was because he was holding on to that secret, holding on to that guilt.
That's
That
interesting.
makes sense.
And when Civil War happens and that guilt is released, obviously,
Hmm.
you know, he's not holding on to anything. So, yeah. I like that as a fan theory pertaining to that particular scene.
It's not a bad fan.
But I also really like the idea that, no, he could have lifted it, he just didn't want to.
I like so I guess like it's hard to reference this without saying future movies, but like later
Go for
on,
it.
just there's a line where Thor says, "I knew it,"
Yeah.
Yeah.
and to me that almost like confirms that he knew that he could have.
He knew.
Could have picked it up.
Yeah,
They've said multiple times, like Kevin Feige and Chris Hemsworth has said multiple times that Cap is the only human that Thor truly respects. And one thing I love about the Avengers movies, each of them, is every single movie, Thor and Cap have a like little quip bit. In the
Mhm.
first movie, it's right at the end of the fight. They're like, Thor's like, "You ready for another bout? What are you getting sleepy?" Thor,
Battle.
like,
Why?
you didn't need to steal Thor's thunder.
Battle why?
But
And then Avengers: Age of Ultron, it's like, what'd you do? Take a nap? And then, is that the best you could do? You had to ask.
Yeah.
So I love Cap and Thor's dynamic in the MCU. I
Mhm.
just
Oh, they're definitely like
they're my favorite.
bros.
They're my favorite bromance in this franchise.
Yeah. I loved everyone trying to do the lift. But I think one of my favorite funny ones from that was Banner. He's like, he's like, I'm gonna Hulk
Ah.
out or whatever.
Eh?
It's like they're like, what? Now, if he would have actually did it, that would have been.
I do
hilarious.
like that Colby Smulders, Maria Hill was in that scene too. It was just cool seeing
Yeah.
her there. But we hadn't even talked about the big bad yet, Ultron. What did y'all think of Ultron? Like, as a major villain. And not just, like, the character, but James Spader as Ultron.
Needed more time.
Needed a lot more time. I wanted more Ultron. Every time he was on the screen, I was like, can this just be the thing?
Yeah.
I liked Ultron and what we got, but it wasn't enough.
If you watched...
Honestly, I feel like because we didn't get a lot of screen time for Ultron, he's almost forgettable.
Yes.
As far as villains go, especially for something as major as an Avengers movie. Especially coming right before Thanos.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's the... I don't want to say the filler before, like, the main event, but...
They kind of use him as filler, you're not wrong.
There was
but what he does and what he accomplishes sets up so many things, like a major, like, negative impact on the heroes.
Oh yeah, there were. That was
Like,
the one thing I loved about this movie is that, not talking about Phase 3, but there were consequences for what happened in that movie.
and for something to have such a major consequence, you would think that there would be a little more time dedicated to it. But like, had I not watched the movie a couple of times, the woman at the beginning with Tony, again, not to reference a future episode, but like the woman who's like trying to avenge her son or just trying to get Tony Stark to see, look, this shit had real world
This happened and it's your fault.
Yeah.
And it's great that that's the first movie in Phase 3. But I liked it. Like, it had some, like, as each movie does, like, the fighting just, the choreography just gets dramatically better. The new characters we get, Wanda, Quicksilver, Vision, fantastic. I wish we'd have gotten more with Ultron, especially after seeing What If.
Yeah, What If?
If we'd have gotten that Ultron, Avengers: Age of Ultron would have been a two-parter.
Oh yeah, and
like, Ultron is a villain that I think should have been a Thanos level threat.
Yeah, because
if you do the story right, Ultron can 100% be a Thanos level threat. Because he is that in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be a weird comparison. Go with me on this. The X-Men movies, Apocalypse. One of the biggest threats the X-Men have ever faced was a throwaway movie.
Oh, it was a movie, all right.
That one, Apocalypse, really didn't seem like it was that big. Like, he didn't really seem like he was that big of a deal.
He wasn't, and like, that kills me.
Well,
and from what I've been told, he's comparable to like Darkseid or something.
He is. He's 100% comparable to Darkseid.
Because the post credit scene that set up Apocalypse, that movie, that scene was not what they delivered. Sorry.
I don't remember the post credit scene.
It was in Days of Future Past.
I don't think I
vaguely remember that, but I don't remember.
Because at the end of it, they were setting it up for Apocalypse, and it was just, no.
I'm going to have to go back and recheck that out. Like, I vaguely remember it, but I can't see it in my head.
But you were talking about Ultron being too short of a thing. But no, the kicker to that, and I will say this at the theater, that the mid-credits for that, like immediately after Ultron, I got goosebumps.
Yeah. Like, the mid-credit scene, for those who might not remember, because it's hard to keep track of what movie has what mid-credit scene. It's the scene when
really
Thanos
Ultron.
walks in with the Infinity Gauntlet and says, "Fine, I'll do it myself." And it's like,
Yeah.
oh shit.
Yeah, it's like, ooh, it's
Things are
getting
about to
real.
happen.
Yes.
But overall, as a movie, it wasn't bad. But knowing how the character of Ultron is and what he does in the comics, I wish we'd have gotten a lot more. But what he accomplishes in this movie in particular, the consequences that come after it, because on one hand, yes, they saved the whole city, minus a few people.
Mm.
But an entire city was destroyed. Like, not.
Yeah, fact that and the fact that it could have ended up in total global annihilation because of the impact of the city when it came back down to Earth is what scared a lot of people.
Yeah. And
And
like, the impact this has on Tony afterwards.
mm,
Especially going into phase 3 with Civil War.
Definitely.
But yeah, it was good. Could have been better, but it wasn't. It was by no means bad, and it was nowhere near as bad as everyone says it was.
No,
Yeah.
I think like in like the long haul, Ultron like to me would be remembered best for developing the characters we already had,
Mhm.
like just more. I think that's
yeah,
what it
But
served to do.
the character
developing,
carry on.
introducing new characters and further developing characters we already had, like you said.
Yeah,
But that being said, the Ultron we did get with James Spader,
Good.
he was magnificent.
I
in
like
that role.
every time he was on screen. I really liked him.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I love you. Can I get more of you, please?
Well,
Man.
he always had witty lines too in that movie.
Like, it was. I just didn't like the Pinocchio bit. There are no strings on me.
Yeah.
Feel like had he gotten more screen time, he almost could have been a sympathetic villain,
Mhm.
which is where it gets dangerous.
Yeah, because you get a really sympathetic villain in Black Panther, which that's phase 3.
Oh,
Mm,
100%.
But
yes.
wait, you didn't like the very end? Like, what was I liked I liked the end of the movie. What I didn't like was the forced romance
Oh,
between Bruce and Nat. That felt weird.
no, what Battle says.
Oh, I thought that was funny.
What's he talking about? The cutoff?
It's the scene when Cap and Natasha are going to train the new recruits, and it's Falcon, Vision,
Oh, okay.
Wanda, and someone else,
Avengers,
and
yeah.
he goes to say Avengers Assemble, and it cuts off as he goes to say Assemble.
Yeah, I
Yeah, but
forgot
that just
was
makes
in
it when he says it in Endgame just so much better.
Like that was just set.
Like,
I can't wait to talk
not
about
to-
Endgame. I can't wait to talk
Not to
about
be
Endgame.
gross about it, but it's like the release after a very long edge. It's worth it.
Yeah, that's
I
that's
mean-
fair too. Well, they also had was it the deleted scenes or whatever with
It was
Thor
a blooper.
when
It was
he
a
like
blooper. It was a blooper where he goes to say it and he's like and then Natasha just goes Assemble.
what? No.
No, he's talking about like the deleted scenes.
I'm talking about where Thor went away and learned about the Infinity Stones.
You talking about
That
Ragnarok?
was
Oh,
no,
I
that
know.
was
Yeah,
a-
I know what
that
you're
was
talking
a
about.
thing.
It's when he goes to talk to Heimdall, and he goes into
Yeah,
this trance. No, because that
Yeah, that
was
was
a
in
scene
Ultron,
in the movie,
wasn't
but
it?
they had an
I was
extended.
gonna say so
version.
because he goes. Because I remember the scene you're talking about. Because he like goes
It was in the movie, but there's an
almost
extended bit.
trance-like, but it's
Yeah, extended scene because they cut some of it
Yeah,
out.
they cut a lot of it
Yeah.
out. But
Yeah.
yeah, I liked it. You know, I haven't hated a movie up until this point.
wasn't a shout.
Battle.
Listen, just the build up and the team he had behind him when he said assemble was just. I can't wait to talk about Endgame. I cannot wait to talk about
man.
Endgame.
Like that
So
conversation
much good in
guys
that
felt
era.
like
Like phase 3 is probably my favorite phase. I say that I liked a lot
Phase
of
3 is
phases
really good.
too, But no,
Phase 2 was really good too,
but I don't want to discredit the final film in Phase 2.
I was like, what? There was a
Mhm.
final film? Yep, no,
There
it was
was.
Ant-Man, and
yeah, man.
just the tone shift from Thor: The Dark World to Winter Soldier to Guardians of the Galaxy to Age of Ultron to Ant-Man.
Ant-Man.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love this movie so much.
It's like the Ant-Man movies.
Like just Paul Rudd is
just
a good movie.
a
gem of the
national
human race.
treasure.
And not just Paul Rudd, his team. When you had like Michael Pena.
Yep.
Oh my god, Michael Pena is so good in this movie.
I was one of the people that was hoping for Michael Pena to come out in character and do a complete like recap
Of the
Recap,
phase
the MCU so far, right before Endgame came out. Like I wanted that so bad.
Let me confirm. Hold on. Y'all. I can't spell.
A guy who knew a guy.
Because I believe I read somewhere that they here it is. Kevin Feige confirms a video of Luis recapping the entire MCU exists.
I need that.
Everyone needs that in my
Feige.
Hold on. We did a special shoot of Luis recapping the entire 10-year history of the MCU for SDCC when we were announcing Michelle Pfeiffer playing Janet Van Dyke. I'm sure it's around somewhere. Kevin Feige on Louis.
Kevin, please
find the video and just release it.
Kevin, please.
Yep, that's what they should have
Everyone
put
get
in
on
the.
Twitter and just be like hashtag Kevin, please.
That should have been. I don't know what
that should have been in the big and it should have been in the Infinity big collection. That's what they should have put it in.
That could have absolutely been a deleted scene on some of the Blu-ray or something. If
it doesn't even have to be a deleted scene. It just needs to be just like, hey, here, the recap.
Here, do this.
I would willingly watch a 4-hour movie of Endgame if that was like the first hour is just him recapping the entire 10 years. And every so often someone else being like, focus. It's like, yeah, you're right.
No, that's what they should do for each. So they should do for each at the end of each phase. Nate, Supernatural, the road so far.
The road so far, directed by, narrated by Michael Pena.
Each phase gets its own.
But when we talk about not the Avengers characters, not the Avengers movies, but the individual hero trilogies, or in some characters cases quad trilogy, because Thor has 4 movies, and Captain America's gonna have 4, but that's
series cycle, something like that.
Captain America for me was is my favorite MCU solo character trilogy. But I think I would be remiss to not say Ant-Man is a very close second.
I loved Ant-Man
because
so much.
The Iron Man 3 trilogy, it's not even on the list. I'm sorry. The Thor series, listen, half of them are just. We'll talk about
Ant-Man trilogy might
we'll talk about
be
that
top of the list here in a couple weeks.
With Quantumania, oh my god, Ant-Man might top Captain America. It's my favorite solo hero trilogy. But Guardians 2 was a little lackluster compared to the first one.
3.
Guardians 2,
again, that's phase 3, but just briefly talking about it for the sake of this conversation.
But I can't remember his name.
Kurt Russell as Ego?
Kurt Russell, yes, thank you. The spoilers, sorry, but the fucking plot twist with that,
But it was a setup from the first movie too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like going back, you can definitely see the things, and to be honest, it probably isn't really that big of a twist had you paid attention. But it's just something about the person as an actor if they can play a villain that you fucking hate.
What's funny, you mentioning that particular part, his son plays U.S. agent,
Oh,
and yeah,
Wyatt is just as good at playing a
love it,
douchebag.
love it.
Like
And
that whole family.
both of them are going to be in the Godzilla TV show on Apple Plus. I can't wait for that. But
Oh,
like the Doctor Strange movies, I liked the first one, didn't care for the second one. Black Panther,
I haven't
I
seen
just
the
think
second
they're
season.
okay. I'm trying to think what other ones. The Spider-Man trilogy, like they've been in like No Way Home's the best one. Everything else is really pretty good, but they're not on the level for me in terms of Captain America's trilogy, and now Ant Man, because both Ant Man movies that we've gotten so far have been fantastic, just
Love.
hilarious
Mhm.
in the right way, using comedy in like the perfect way, without making it too overbearing. The banter, the quips, the action, like the visuals for Ant Man, just I'm impressed by those movies, and I feel like they don't get enough love.
They don't.
They
They
really don't. Ant-Man as a character honestly gets pushed under the rug a lot, which is sad because like you said, it those movies are done amazingly. They have a great team of writers and the chemistry between all of the lead like characters is fantastic. But again,
yeah.
they're all like veterans of the freaking industry, so
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I remember about Ant Man 1. Like, you could tell they had a lot of fun with that movie.
Mm.
So.
Oh yeah. I wonder how much of that was ad libbed, especially with Michael Pena.
oh gosh, there's no
Like
telling.
he
Some of it
is a
had to be right. Like
he is a standout MCU character, like actor slash character
yes.
that once again does not get enough love. I don't think we
I
need
don't
Yeah.
a Luis in every single MCU film.
Yeah. I think one of the favorite things to kind of put it into perspective is in the first Ant Man, if I remember this right, the tonal shift of how happy go lucky he is when Sam they fight briefly.
Yes,
Like Sam's super serious and he's like, "Oh no,
Yeah.
man, I'm just."
and then he actually beats Falcon.
Yeah.
Like, don't underestimate Ant Man. I'm intrigued to see him fight. Okay, listen. I've been giving Ant Man a lot of love. Okay, Paul Rudd, like fantastic, perfect. Our boy's gonna get his ass whooped. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, look who he's fighting.
He's fighting Kang the Conqueror, a multiversal, like the conqueror of the multiverse. And
Man, I
he's
can't believe that's like
that Ant
less than a
Man.
month.
I'm impressed that Ant Man and the Wasp is the movie that is introducing like this Thanos level threat. And
I'm
Ant
really
Man
hoping
is
that they
going
don't
on.
end up doing I'm really hoping that they don't end up doing like they have in the past and just like almost wasting the villain. But with someone that big of a name, it might be a little hard to waste.
I don't think they're gonna waste it because
They're not gonna
everything I've
waste it.
seen about this movie so far from behind the scenes is the praise for the script for this is like this is one of the best scripts in the MCU.
Excited.
Yeah.
So I'm intrigued to see that. And plus, it's
Because-
the same people who wrote the first two
Yeah.
Ant-Man movies,
Man's
plus Ant-Man's.
Because you know
Ant-Man.
where we're going to, after this. So like,
Mhm.
there's there's going to be consequences somewhere in that movie. I just
Oh,
have
yeah.
to see what they are first.
I can't wait, but I just freaking love this movie. Like the characters it establishes and the concepts and the introduction to the quantum realm,
Yep. That's-
just magnificent. Another case of throwaway villains, though. That being said, the fight on the Thomas the Tank Engine toy track,
Oh, it's so great.
and then they use like the enlarger on the Thomas Tank.
Mm.
But I thought,
The fight where they like pan out and they show it, and
like,
Yeah.
like it's a massive, like he's holding him down on the track. It's like, you're gonna die here, Scott. Blah blah blah. No, I will not die here. And the train just hits
Yeah,
him and
they-
it just tips over.
yeah, they pan out that shit. It's like, this is
It just
real.
like nothing is happening like to anyone else in the world. It's just
But going
there's so many
back-
things about Ant-Man that I like.
One of my favorite bits,
There's
and
so much.
this is just the random shit that just latches on to me. It's when Luis and that team, they're driving up to the house and they see all the squad cars there. Oh, nope, just back it up. Back it up. Come on, just back it up. Back it up slow. Come on, you good, just back it up. Yep. Back it up, back it up, back it up. And they're backing up, going like 2 miles an hour. Yep, just back it up. Back it up. Back it up good. You good. Back it up. Yep, back it up. Ant-Man is the perfect example of comedy done, like comedy in an action movie done right. But yeah,
Mm.
that and Ant-Man is thus the wrap up of Phase 2. So I think I already know this answer, but like we did with Phase 1, what would you guys say is your favorite in Phase 2? I think the universal answer so far that I've heard that I can gather is Captain America: Winter Soldier.
Yeah, definitely Winter Soldier.
But
Definitely.
Ant-Man
As
gets
much
a
fun
solid.
as Ant-Man,
So
I gotta love Bucky Barnes.
Mm,
honestly, mine's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Ooh.
Guardians of the Galaxy
I
is my
mean,
favorite.
solid
of
choice.
Phase 2.
Solid choice.
Yeah. I love Guardians of the Galaxy so much.
Good one.
It's a good
can't say enough
movie and
good
it has
things.
an amazing soundtrack.
Oh
It
god, that
does.
soundtrack.
yeah, it's so good.
It's just I when that movie came out, I downloaded that soundtrack, and it was the only thing I listened to for like a month.
Can confirm.
I'm gonna need you to not judge me, madam. Gets in the car. Ooh, ka-cha-ka, ooh, ka-cha-ka, ooh, ka, ooh, ka, ooh, ka-cha.
I can't stop.
You okay, Genesis?
I injured myself while eating cheese, and
How
now
did you?
I have.
How did
no.
you injure
How did
yourself?
Wait,
do
how did you
that?
hurt? Wait, how do you hurt yourself eating cheese, Jen?
I'm
Jen,
so
where you were-
sorry.
Ow.
While you were cutting it, or
Are you
Oh.
lactose intolerant?
Jen said eating it.
well, that's part of the process, isn't it? You just gotta cut the cheese.
Because
I
I'm
hope you're
picturing
okay.
sitting
I
down.
bit my
bit-
tongue, and now it's bleeding.
Oh,
Ooh.
no.
Ah,
That makes sense.
Oh, I'm
I'm
so
sorry.
But going back to something Dakota said earlier, where you're picking your favorite movie out of the phase. Like he left out Avengers in the first one, because he didn't seem it was fair. Phase 2, I don't think Avengers: Age of Ultron would have been anyone's favorite anyway.
No.
So,
Yeah.
but Winter Soldier is definitely mine. Got to give love to Guardians and Ant-Man as well. But I feel like
Yeah.
Ant-Man squeezes ahead of Guardians just a little bit. Just because it takes this character. It takes a character named Ant-Man and makes him so relevant.
With all the power of ants.
I love Ant-Man to death.
So-
It's like
And
There's
then,
so
and
much
then
about that
there's
movie.
love for Thor there, but it's not in my top 3. Did Dakota, you give your answer yet?
Oh, you already know what it is. Winter Soldier. No, let's pivot back to Ant-Man. The post credits for that was really good too.
How many? Oh yeah, the lead up to Civil War. I was like, what is the post credit scene for Ant-Man? Oh, I
it
remember
had Cap, it had everybody.
now. And then that scene was completely redone in Civil War. But one thing I want to touch on real quick. If I remember right, like Phase 1 took place in the span of a week. Because if you look at Iron Man 2, The Incredible Hulk, and Thor, at the end of Iron Man 2, you know, Tony's sitting at the table talking to Nick Fury. By the way, there's a lot of Easter eggs on the map there. But if you look at the TV screen, it's showing like the incident at Harlem where the Hulk rages out and fights Abomination. And then halfway through Iron Man 2, Coulson goes to Nevada, or is it Arizona? He goes to one of them. I think it's Nevada, actually, not Arizona.
It's New Mexico, isn't it?
I thought it was.
It is New Mexico. I don't know my shit. Never mind. I don't know my states.
It's like, wait a minute.
You're American.
But-
That's to be expected.
But the post-credit scene for Iron Man 2 is Coulson and New Mexico. So all those take place at the exact same time, essentially. And
That
then,
is a very busy 3 months for Tony Stark. No wonder his fucking ass had PTSD.
not months, week.
Oh yeah, a week. Yeah.
I can say all the states in alphabetical order in under a minute. You are very
You're better than
talented,
I am.
and you are better than
Right.
me.
Yeah, I
Which
could
one's
never
first?
do that.
Arkansas? No, fuck. I used to could say the states and state capitals, but nope.
Oh man.
If you ask me what state capital is for what, Tennessee's Nashville. I know that one.
All you need to
You.
know.
For the longest time, I thought it was Memphis.
Well.
I failed that geography quiz.
Oh, honey.
But yeah, that's been the MCU phases 1 and 2. So up until this point, like your collective thoughts of everything so far, knowing what's to come. Do you have any memory of where your quote unquote like your hype level for this unit for this franchise? Do you have any like recollection of how excited you were at the point of I just saw Ant-Man, I've seen all these movies, I know what's coming. Little did we know we didn't know exactly what was coming, but knowing what everything was leading up to, can you remember where you were at post
I
Ant-Man?
remember just being crazy excited. Like at this point, like so after the first phase 1, I would say that like I was like, oh, where is everything going? I was kind of like, you know, like this could go in any direction. After phase 2, I was like, I need more, please. I just need more. Give more. More movies, please. And whatever. I don't care who it is. Give me more movies.
Well, it's for sure the same way. Like I said, after Age of Ultron, Thanos, like, I'll do it myself. Some of the other things that people, I don't know if it was around this time or maybe it was a little bit before, but also at the same point with the actors and like, we had the internet and it was like, Sebastian Stan extends contract 6 more movies
Yeah,
or
I do
whatever.
remember that
Tom
happening.
Hiddleston. I was like, how many more movies?
This is gonna be great. Yeah.
He's like, but wait, Loki's dead. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Comic book.
actually, no.
No, but just, seeing stuff like that, and you're like, oh, I got to see what's coming next. And I can't remember if it was after that or when we actually got into the phase and they were like, hey, the next Captain America is going to be Civil War. And I was like, oh, but I can't remember when they actually announced.
I think that had to have been announced around the time of Age of Ultron.
I am actually going to be right back. Too much water. This will be the intermission right at the end.
Yeah, that thing. We're ending in like 5 minutes.
I need full bladder.
This is fine. But
Yeah, so it was the
me
so that was the
being,
kickoff. So yeah,
Yeah.
it had to.
me being me, I keep up with everything. Like I'm up to date on all the latest movie news and whatnot. That's kind of my shtick. But knowing what was coming after Ant-Man, it was just like y'all, like you both said, the excitement was just sometimes too much to bear, and I was almost getting to a point where it's like, I need these movies now. Can I have this now, please? Like there was a level of impatience because you were so excited for what was to come. But just a little tease of how things were in Phase 3. When it finally happened, like with Infinity War and Endgame, when those movies both came out, like that hype and excitement went to nerves and anxiety
So
and
fast.
just so much tension because it's like, oh my god, we're finally here. What's about to happen?
Oh,
Like,
man.
like what is going on?
Such
Who's
a
gonna
build
die?
up.
Who is going to die here?
I've never been more excited. I think like in like this, I guess is a preview for next talk. In like the beginning of Phase 3 for
Oh, yeah.
movies ever. I don't think in my entire life as I was in this period. Like that was the most excited I've ever been for movies coming out.
Man. Getting the goosebumps just thinking about that
yeah.
whole phase.
Yeah, it's a
It's good.
great one.
It's got so many amazing movies, and it just the story it tells from
Yeah.
Civil War to you can't even say Endgame's the final because the
That's
epilogue
Spider-Man.
is Far From Home.
Far From Home, yeah.
But Phase 3 is like some of the best. Like it's amazing.
Well, it's like what 10 movies almost on its own.
Civil War,
Sounds right.
Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy, Spider-Man,
Yes,
Thor, Black Panther, Avengers, Ant-Man, Captain Marvel, Endgame, and Spider-Man. So it's 11 movies.
Yes.
Endgame, like Phase 3 is almost the exact same amount of phases 1 and 2. And spoiler alert for those watching or listening to the Codpast, Phase 3 will be next month.
Yay!
I don't know when,
Yeah.
and I haven't confirmed who's going to be on it yet. From what I can tell, some of the people in here want to keep this conversation going. So if
I'll
people,
be a spoiler if I need to be.
this is fine. I mean, I don't know. But I'm at the level of hype now leading into Phase 5 and 6 that I was leading into Phase 3. Knowing what was coming in Phase 5 with Captain America, New World Order, and Thunderbolts, and Black and Blade, and I think Wolverine and Deadpool is in Phase 4. It might be Phase 5. But leading up to Avengers Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars. Avengers Secret Wars alone. If you know the comic storyline for Secret Wars, this is how you top Endgame.
Yeah, it'll get close to it. I still think one of the best things to happen is that they did push that back. I still stand by what I said. 2 Avengers movie in the same year would have been too much.
I'm glad they're pushing back some of their products because we got 3 movies and like 4-5 TV shows last year.
Yeah, there's a lot
There
of
is
stuff
clearly like there is fear of a Marvel burnout before we get to Secret Wars, which is why I'm glad Marvel decided to take a step back and be quality over quantity. I think we're getting 3 movies and 3 shows this year.
Let's see. So we get Quantum Mania, Guardians 3, the Marvels, and then the TV shows.
Which the TV shows are supposed to be Secret Invasion, Loki Season 2, Ironheart, which I know Bella's really excited for that one.
Yes.
We get What If 2 this year?
We're supposed to get What If Season 2, which I want to see some of that in live action.
I will say in the defense of last year, the pandemic majorly fucked
You
up
are not
release
wrong. You
for a
are not
lot.
wrong.
Because if I remember correctly, and they actually, I want to say, got in trouble with this, they fucked up the release of Black Widow.
Multiple times.
Yeah, that.
Which Phase 4 is going to be not the funnest conversation, I think.
Speak for
Yeah.
yourself. I'm enjoying it.
Like, well, you are enjoying it. It's over now. Phase
Well,
4,
I also haven't watched all of the
yeah,
shows yet.
Phase 4 ended with Black Panther, but Phase 4 had a lot of good stuff in it. It also had a lot of misses too.
Because you don't like the Eternals.
Eternals isn't the only thing I didn't like, but at the same time, that's one of the conversations of how do you follow Endgame, and that's the unfortunate task that Phase 4 had, is following Endgame.
I want to say that WandaVision and Loki did well, considering they had to follow Endgame.
Those two did well. Falcon and the Winter Soldier was really good. Like, Shang-Chi is still one of my favorites.
Shang-Chi did phenomenally, and not only introducing like a whole bunch of new things, but having to follow something as big as Endgame, where we retired a bunch of big names.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I. That's one reason why I really felt bad for Black Widow.
Yeah.
Not to spoil anything, but what happens in Endgame and just the level of Endgame. The first movie to kick off the next phase was Black Widow.
It was, which
We
oh
should
man.
definitely came earlier. I feel like
Black Widow should have
So
came
we're
earlier.
gonna go ahead and say that yes, it should have been way before where it was at.
Black Widow should have taken place after Civil War. You know, where it should have come before at that point.
It should have been
But-
after Ultron.
No, because the movie takes place after Civil War.
No, I'm saying like her
Yeah.
solo movie should have
yeah,
been
they
after.
could
you're
have
not
made
wrong.
it on a different topic.
Yep.
Oh, I am. I realize we're rambling at this point, but
I mean, it's to be expected.
it is. But yeah, this. What did y'all think of the freeform conversation?
It
I had a lot of fun.
works.
I didn't really expect
Yes.
to just go like from film to film to film to film, but I really am happy with the way this one turned out, and
Yeah, no.
that is largely due to you guys.
What
So
do you
thank
think?
y'all for joining me for this today.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's awesome being on.
Absolutely enjoyed having y'all on. Bell and Dakota, y'all have been here multiple times. Tony, I've loved having you on today, buddy.
Welcome. We appreciate you being here.
And
It was
Yes.
spoiler
beyond
alert,
fun.
this isn't the only one he's on the list for. Just saying.
Well, I would hope so after today.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. There's one in particular. I've got him and one other person that I can't wait to have that conversation with.
Excited. I know what one you're talking about, I think.
It starts with a mass and ends with an effect.
Mhm. Oh,
I'll go ahead and spoil it right now. There's a Mass Effect podcast coming up, and Tony's on it. I don't care.
Yes.
Give y'all some
so
warning now.
excited.
Buckle in. That's going to be a long one.
Sure is.
And I think I know one more person who might want to join that one. But
What
that
are
one,
you saying? Absolutely not.
that one is going to be heated. I guarantee it.
We're going to start having all sorts of spicy takes on who everyone's favorite companions are, I guess.
More like who's everyone's favorite shepherd to play as first and foremost. But
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
starts
I'm
at the
gonna
beginning.
that's a conversation for
I'm
another
gonna
time.
say, I'm gonna say Fem Shepard gets it by default because she's a narrator of one of my favorite author's books.
I mean, it's Jennifer
Cool.
Hale, all up to her, but I just prefer Mark Mirror a little bit. But again,
Oh, no.
we're getting ahead of ourselves. But yeah, I am not following Hydro. Need to fix. Yes, please fix that, because if you're not following,
Do the thing.
I can't say Bella because she does a stream and I don't want to put her on the spot.
Nah.
But if you're not following Big Ape or Hydroxide Ant, fix yourself, please. You will not be disappointed, I assure you. Just two genuinely just amazing people.
Wax?
Quack!
Space duck.
Quack!
I do quack.
Quack for me.
I can.
Rude.
Quack!
Oh,
I
it's
quack
just
too.
a space duck. What a majestic
Oh,
creature.
sound clip.
Zabon, what the hell was that?
I believe that was the space duck, sir.
Tag, hear it in mom's room now.
Oh no.
But yeah, unfortunately, that's gonna wrap up the Codpast for tonight. I feel like one of these days I want to have a Codpast that lasts my entire stream time, just to be able to sit down and just talk, have a conversation about movies and stuff.
Oh, well, I mean, Strix and I do still owe you that one.
That's mainly gonna be y'all shitting on things and me occasionally having an opinion.
Look, we're book nerds. We'll be able to fill out an entire 4 hours of bitching about horribly done books.
Don't tempt me. I'll give you the runtime. But yeah, we'll go ahead and officially wrap this up. Guys, thank you all so much for coming and being a part of this. I greatly appreciate you. Love your faces. Can't wait for the next time. For those hanging out in chat, stick around. I'm gonna die a whole lot. Because it starts all straight tonight. But
Oh boy.
yeah, so we're gonna switch over. Give me just a few minutes. I'm gonna kind of say my goodbyes to these guys off screen,
Bye.
and then I'll be back. But yeah, just stick around for a little bit. And for those who tuned in for the podcast, thank y'all
Bye, Mom.
for joining us for the podcast. Love your faces, and we'll catch you on the next episode. See you guys then.